And I say, I want us to get back together. And he turns to me again and says, where? And now? I say I want it to be the present. And he turns to me again and says, all three are present. In meditation, they just told me straight up, you need sound therapy, Ovadia, Ovalia.
Stiva, Kai, it turns out you just went, sat at a cafe and did nothing. And people will say, well, yeah, if that's how it works, you just wish for something and it happens for you. How does that work?
And when I hear that, I feel like zap, zap, I could hit him, you know? And my first thought is that what she's saying, I've heard it before. Now, imagine 1,000 needles and you are a thread. And he says, and they are the months, your life. They are the months of each one. At one point, you must throw the thread through all the needles. Well, that's what the soul does in most cases, right? The Hermetic principles, I studied them in construction school. You learn half of them there without even knowing that's what they are. You understand as above, so below. Right away, that's the very first principle about rhythm, about sequence, right? Where it has flowed, it will flow again.
This is absolutely ancient.
Quite.
Hermeticists,
They know it. It's from ointments that flow smoothly. Of course,
welcome to the exploration of reality. I am Stoyan Valkov-Chokol and today my guest is Ventsislav Tonchev, who on the surface, like all of us, works in everyday life in the material world. He is very cheerful and he appeared at our event in Sofia at the Expo Center when he made a huge impression on me. And I thought to myself, this man has many layers in him, which he either doesn't want to share right now or he's simply going through a process. Like all of us, and the right moment will come. He came to share his perspective on the energy around us, on consciousness, on parallel worlds and realities, on how our thoughts truly influence, create, shape, change, and determine what we experience. Welcome, I'm very glad you accepted the invitation and thank you very much for being here.
thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. I have the opportunity to share my experience. Of course, everything I share is based on my personal experiences through my own perspective. You know, it's not some kind of guarantee of truth.
That's right, that's the idea, that's all I imagined when we created this show. Actually, you're a seeker, you're an explorer, you want to try different things, you're looking for different books. Just like me, like us, different practices, courses, events, people, and where to start. I usually ask people about the beginning of some kind of turning point that changed everything. But for you, when did you feel that you started leaning that way? And this time, did it become something more for you than just watching videos and reading books? Here it is, my debut book, A Touch of Reality. You can find it on our website, INRA.bg, 320 pages. Personal experiences and realizations about the universe, about who we are, and the courage to express it. An increasingly open, deep knowledge about the power that each of us possesses. If one is brave enough to admit it, you might find it. And why not soon in bookstores as well?
Yes, there is an incident. Yes, an incident where I saw that there was something else, and it is extremely ordinary. We had to dig in the yard to look for a pipe, yes, for plumbing, but I hadn't lived in that house and we had to find that pipe. And they said that one person would find it. And he came with blue dowsing rods. I didn't know those were dowsing rods. And he walks and they snap and he marks 2 spots. I go with a shovel and dig and the pipe is right there. And now I'm curious. I told him, let me try and see which one will work. And we laughed. And yes, I walked and they snapped and closed. And when he saw that, he took them back. And I said, wait, tell me, what happened? He didn't say anything else. And that's how the whole search began. through Radziecki dowsing and various entities there.
How old are you now?
And this question is my favorite. Yes, this question.
They're prompting me in my earpiece from Batif Button. I have to ask you how old you are, what's your favorite song, and what you'll say. Good job. Mom and Dad?
They are 40 years old.
And when exactly did this happen? We're giving people some kind of timeline.
Maybe at 23, I'm not sure, but yes, until 35, absolutely nothing.
What do you usually do?
You work in construction, right?
Let's say with agriculture.
Back then, I was working in construction too. Yes?
And how? Because I know quite a few people like that. What made this stand out to you so much that you thought, wait, there's something here? It can't just be a coincidence. I want to know.
Well, after I saw it, I already know that he is here. There was definitely something there, yes, and I was curious what that something was. And so I started to search. Books, courses, one after another. And so I moved on to much more informed searching, as you said, books, information. There, a picture of a reality started to come together. One that's much broader than what we see. You know, just some people who go to work and nothing happens. Yeah, like a friend of mine used to say, that's life. It's just super lame.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Well said.
So, what was the first book that made such an impression on you back then? Which one found you? Which book was it? Do you remember?
The Biology of Belief was one of the first, but I'm not sure. I don't remember it very well. So clearly, because there they explain things in a language that
And how did you come across it?
I don't know, somewhere, I think I read about it. Someone had mentioned it. They had given some example somewhere.
And in it, what impressed you was that Dr. Bruce Lipton explains in very plain language what happens in our cells, how they react, how this affects consciousness. Yes.
Yes, and he makes sense. Until then, I was looking for some logic, everywhere. And somehow it connected, because until then,
what do you think, the world?
Until then, if someone mentioned spiritual things to you, and for me, it was all just nonsense. Some fanatics talking about things, I haven't seen them, there's no proof, they're just saying something. That was my thinking, right? Isn't that logical? Yes. And after he explained it logically and it made sense. And I had already seen that there are some abilities that are also inexplicable, things that can't be explained. And therefore, there must be something else again by that same logic, yes.
And the path of logic, yes.
Logically, there must be something else. And so, yes, I began reading various books.
After that incident with the dowsing rods, what happened next? When did you become braver? What you read? You have to start trying it, start turning it into action, right? It's one thing to read it, it's another to start experiencing it, to try it. Yes, practice. We all complain that everywhere there are only theories, only information, and no practical exercises. How do you deal with that?
I immediately started trying everything, right away. Dowsing rods, pendulum, everything I read. I immediately want to try it to see if it works. And so I pretty quickly got to your shows, to the guests. I started searching much more broadly, right? That's how I got to Maya, and meeting her was quite a turning point, so to speak.
To introduce the viewers, yes, to introduce the viewers who know us, Maya was initially our guest, and then she became a friend who
is
a magician. Yes.
She's a pro?
Yes. Do you want to add something? No.
Just right.
Maya Zaharieva, she has a channel. She's been doing one-on-one sessions for many years. Yoga. In general, transformations with different people, connecting with spiritual teachers, regression and experiences, connection. And she gives very precise, spontaneous guidance at crucial moments. For us, we have also experienced something similar with her, so she is a key person in our lives as well. What happened for you when you met Maya?
Well, she literally told me some of my, stronger sides, let's call them that.
And before that, you had already read, for example, you had read about meditation, because Bruce Lipton also talks about it, but it doesn't work. Or had you tried anything?
Meditation had already worked, but I thought there had to be some kind of visualization, like I should see something. Logically, I keep looking for some kind of logic. Something has to happen. And after talking to her, I actually realized that we are all different. We're not equal at all. We didn't come to Earth equal. In this reincarnation, everyone has a different mission, different strength, and different abilities. So equality is somewhere up there, where someday.
That's very interesting to me, because you said it before we started. That was really interesting to me. I'm digressing, but I wanted to get into your mind to see how you perceive it, how we are different, yet still one whole. How do you understand the phrase, the one is everything and everything is one?
Well, here and now with you, these are our avatars walking on the earth, but our soul, it's not here. And actually through the avatar, it has experiences, and that's why they are so different. Because, from various other reincarnations, there are things we've done, things we haven't done, and things we want to do. And that's why we're not equal at all, purely energetically. When we're on Earth, in this dimension, whether it's the third or the 103rd, it's not about levels, it's some kind of dimension, and we're not equal here at all.
In other words, we're not unique.
Yes, and that's related to the things I was watching. Because everyone, well, not everyone, but most people say, for example, you see someone who can walk through walls and he says, everyone can do it, but I hesitate. For example, it could take someone 1,000 years to learn.
He says it, I've said it too, in that sense. But from the point of view of the foundation, from the point of view of the source of creation, but from then on, through everyone's own perspective, it really can take...
It can take you 10,000 years to do it, absolutely. And that was a lot. That was also a turning point for me, because I realized that I just need to find what I'm really good at. Let's say, better than other things. It's not that I discovered a talent since then. For example, those were regressions and self-regressions, right? It's like searching for a radio station. Nothing, then suddenly you find the right frequency. Starts playing music.
Bring me back to the moment with May. Let's continue from there. What happened?
Well, with her, she did a regression for me in which we saw some things, and she understood somehow. Not in her own way, but actually that I can do it myself and that it will be easy for me.
So, she gave you a message about self-regression, that you can do it yourself without needing someone to guide you. You can focus and experience it on your own.
Exactly. Yes, and it turned out to be extremely easy, for example. Easier than meditation, let's call it that.
What types of meditation had you tried before that?
Well, all kinds of things I found online, guided ones, or just sitting in nothingness, trying to stop your thoughts, things like that. Things like that. And after what happened with the regressions, and very soon, for example, because I told myself I started things like that, right? I don't see them in 3D like in the movies. I feel them, in most cases, but the feeling is there.
And with Maya, when you saw her, no?
No, but I felt it. Yes, I felt it. And very soon I watched something. And yes, I don't really remember how exactly they got to parallel realities. And one morning, while I was wondering whether to do a regression or something else, because I get up early in the morning and have time for myself. While everyone is still sleeping, I have at least 2 hours for myself. And yes, that's wonderful.
Paradise on earth?
Something.
Let's seek the hour of victory.
Yeah, and I start thinking about those parallel realities. I saw someone explaining that at every moment we make a choice, there is actually the other choice as well.
I am.
You could be too, I mean.
And I've said it too because it sounds very easy and very confusing. At the same time, I also find it very interesting. Today, you should tell me how you understand this thing, how it doesn't confuse you.
Now I'll explain, and while I'm thinking about regression, I start thinking about some version of myself that maybe has already gotten further ahead, but how do I connect with him, right? Because regressions, they appear somehow. Not randomly, but rather synchronistically. What I need to see at the moment,
So,
according to my soul, right? Which controls the avatar. And while I'm thinking about one of my other selves, the regression happens with various little steps like meditation, there, a meadow, some familiar things like that, like that, like that. There's a door, and now I'm thinking about one of my other selves. And I'm thinking, yes, again, not to imagine him right behind the door, not to make it a regression, not to appear somewhere myself. Why shouldn't it be him there, right? And while I'm thinking about it, the thought comes, what if I open the door, he's there, and I open the door and I'm facing myself? What does that other version of me look like? I don't really see him that clearly, but I can feel how he feels, how you feel, how he feels. Well, I'm not exactly sure about the first one because it was a bit unexpected. I haven't slept.
but it's different. Another one of your versions? Not that it's something different. No.
No, not different. Another version of me, man.
How did you recognize it?
Well, the overall feeling was completely different. For example, me, how do I feel on that particular day? And suddenly it's like you feel in a completely different way, but it's still you, these are my feelings, my thoughts, for example, but they're different and there's no way you can change your state in just a minute. But for example, it's like you've gone back 15 years. And so the very next morning, I decide to look for a specific version of myself and, thinking it was a super, super genius idea, I started looking for a version of myself that, for example, has more money. Because at that moment, that's what I needed, of course. And I remember at one point, we were just doing our own things there. Exactly. I made a choice. It turned out the opposite. And I thought, well, that other version of me made that choice. So now I'm going to go see him.
Who are you now?
Yeah. And I open the door and boom, that version of me appears. And he really did it. And the effect is, really quite serious. But he felt terrible. It was a really heavy feeling, that's how I describe it. Heaviness. Yeah. And I ask him, because you can talk. It's like you're not even asking a question and you're getting answers that, well, it's a bit strange. I think, maybe I'm not quite normal, but still. When you start getting answers that even you don't know, right? Yeah, then it's clear that it's not you. And that's how I realized that actually his financial situation is, very quite enviable. But the whole other picture of his life is really bad. So to put it that way, for example, girlfriend, wife, kids, he had absolutely nothing. And it was really hard for him. Because, well, everyone only seeks him out for his money. Those were his words, Everyone only seeks me out for my money. And that was it, And I closed the door.
That was the regression, the connection, yes.
Yes, the connection. I realized that it's not okay. To have money in that way is not good. The other picture is also not okay.
Yes, and what did you tell yourself after leaving that state? You look first.
First, yes, I don't want to.
The pity is?
The pity is they're looking for something else. The pity is they're looking for another reality. And so I started looking for other realities, but all the ones that appeared weren't okay. Because I was looking, for example, for material things like money or all sorts of things like that. And then I decided to change direction and look for example, a reality where I feel good, where I'm happy, enjoy life, and what I do has some meaning. And so completely different versions started to appear, which were much more balanced. There weren't any extreme stories, millions or crazy things and other stuff. a lot of more balanced things started showing up, which was okay. And 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, all of them, or rather, not all of them, but a few of them. Third, where are you in Sophia? 1 in Sophia, 2nd in Sophia, 3rd in Sophia. Again, I'm in Rus, and I thought, why not go to Sophia again? And at that moment, my job wasn't going well at all. So I said to myself, why not give it another try?
Did you have an opportunity that brought you to Sophia, or did you just decide it in your head first and then the opportunity appeared?
Well, no, I didn't have an opportunity. It's just that here there were many people who in some way were doing well. And I open the door and I go again and ask, how did you manage to get there? Because now how am I supposed to make sense of it? I can come to Sophia, but what will I do here?
That's a very interesting way to make your decision. Man, well done, well done.
That's insane.
And I want to say,
Go ahead. This is very funny.
Well, yes, but that's what I wanted to.
To explain a little more, because I think it's super interesting for people who say, I can't see in meditation. People like you and say my mom feel things instead of seeing them. It's more through their senses. And you see, because if, for example, not
That these two
counts as
the same way?
either black or another color, you feel whether the world is high or low, for example, that this is each. Yes.
I've seen a situation and then, for example, a month later, I see that exact same thing. Yes?
Just like in regression, for example, it's also very, it's essential to see in regression, right? If someone tells you that you do regressions without being able to see intuitively, you'll think it's impossible, but it does happen. It's just a different kind of perception. Please explain it yourself.
Well, that's with another one of my theories that everything is a field and information, right? Everything is mental, and actually the information can come in many ways. And for example, now you can describe me with 1,000 words and, describe how I'm dressed, how I look, absolutely everything. So let's say that's a file with 5,000 words, and the best way to imagine it is as if it's that file. And suddenly I give it to you and you load it like a program, and click. And you know who I am, what I look like, without your mind having drawn any picture. That is, these files already exist and you...
I think you can choose which one to load at that moment, and you start to understand it.
It's just information, and it comes as a complete package of information. Now, someone has described it to you in great detail, but I receive it instantly. I don't actually see it, I just feel it, and I know that this is how it is. So, it's good to see it in real life a few times.
So, does your explanation help with that? Valeto asks. Does this answer your question?
Absolutely. That's what he's saying, that we can actually get information in many other ways. And it doesn't have to go through seeing or hearing, for example, because for many people, including me, it comes as words through hearing, but it's not necessary. Sometimes it's just knowledge.
And even a lot of things, if you see them in a way, it becomes a frame. When you see it, you already know what it is and what it looks like. I don't see it, and actually there is no frame.
There is no frame.
There is no frame, but I still hope that someday.
Okay, and actually you're asking about Sophia and what's going on.
Yes, how is it going and moving forward?
How did you do it? And you feel how...
Yes, forward, this, and in.
you get steps, even if...
Well, I'm asking, and after that?
Do you write them down somewhere so you don't forget them?
No, don't you know, do you rely on yourself? I haven't written them down, yeah, but I was looking for ones that are close to me, right? Back then I already knew about cogitalnost, about the rights and the closed realities, the ones that intersect. And I was trying to find ones that are close, to me, and not to end up in some of the 1,300.
And you decide which are nearby and which aren't.
Well, that's how it is. I look for them myself. You can choose at any moment. And I, for example, was looking for moments that are close to that one in the line, the linear time, which I was defining back then. For now, for example, I haven't even thought about going back, for example, to look for some moments from before, possibilities, other realities, because the present, we inevitably, at the moment,
How do you understand time? How do you explain it to yourself? That's really interesting to me. Help me understand how you figured out where time is. What pulled you in, right? Was your logical way of thinking and the fact that you'd liked physics since you were little, so you could make sense of time at all. So that later, when things happen that don't match up with time, you can say, I get it.
Well, in a regression,
It all comes down to regression, yes?
it all comes down to regression. In a regression, I saw we were piloting a spaceship and we were passing through here. I don't even know what exactly, like even the universe is too small a word for it. And imagine it with dots. Like if you put two dots on a piece of paper, fold it, and the two dots are facing each other. And that's how we were passing through very distant places. I don't even know how to describe it, I mean, we were just passing like that, as if space-time was bending.
Space-time.
But they were precise and knew exactly where those points were. I mean, like black holes in space. That's how I imagine it. And that's how we moved very fast. But we had, a path we had to follow. And the interesting thing was, since we were in a hurry to get somewhere, but where exactly? And we had to go through something that, in principle, we weren't supposed to go through. And for example, if there were 34 of us, some beings like us were piloting the ship because, there's no...
What were you? Can you tell?
I'm not sure. I just know that everything was controlled by thought. The whole ship didn't have anything else.
But still you are inside. You connect to it and it moves, yes.
Something like that. And the thing is, we were in a hurry and there was no way to get to the place. Was it a war or some kind of space stuff? I'm not sure, but everything happened so fast. That's how it goes. Details and events moved quickly and we had to get there faster. And we had to go between those holes. So it's like, yeah. From one, not to come out at the same end, above the same hole, but to go through, for example, some galaxies and enter another one. So, for example, if you bend a sheet and if you put a second one, and they're not exactly opposite each other and they're slightly shifted really, nobody knows how far you might go. But the point is, we had to do this manually. The ship couldn't do it and I had to do it myself. So I was able to do it, the others couldn't, and we made some kind of decision there. They said, okay, and basically they trusted me to do this, but I had done it before, I knew how it worked and all the control basically came to me. And I just go in like click, 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 and I'm on one side. I go like to the left of the round thing on the right and the second one to the left.
On the round thing, there were stations on the right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I know exactly where I need to go. And imagine that it's like I have a motorcycle. And it's like you're moving pretty fast in the city on the motorcycle. And the streetlights pass by, super fast. And now imagine that these weren't planets, but galaxies.
Oh.
It just turned onto our street really fast, but not too fast. And we kept going on our way. Everything there is happening again, just as it should. And all regressions, just to share, all regressions always have some kind of lesson at the end, like why you are seeing this thing.
So what was the lesson from this one here?
Now, when we arrived and actually everything ended well, it was okay.
The mission is successful?
The mission, yes, the mission is successful. But as advice for nothing. That's how it happened to me. They put me in front and they demoted me, completely demoted me. I can't even pilot a ship anymore because they told me it was extremely risky and I have no right to risk anyone else's life but my own. If I'm alone, it's allowed, but actually not. And that was the lesson, right? That I shouldn't make decisions that could affect the path of others, their lives, or their journey.
Just give me a second. What you told us, which for many people might sound perhaps cosmic and abstract, which I understand, happened during regression and deep regression. Let's make the connection actually. Why did you have exactly that experience at that moment, so that when you wake up, what is the lesson supposed to be?
I saw that experience from something physical, which now, what I'm about to say, I don't want anyone to try it. I don't know if I mentioned that I have a motorcycle, and there the gears are a bit different, they feel different, and they're a bit higher. Let's say, from the way they argue, according to Nivea, we should be moving along the roads, and there's a limit. Yeah,
there's a limit beyond which everything starts to get blurry.
Well, it's not as simple as just talking about it. I'm with the guys, and everyone has done 300, but I haven't. And I tell myself, this is really bad. People are driving at 300. And from this deserted spot between two villages, there's nobody there. Almost always, there's this nice straight stretch.
That's the place.
There's nobody there and me. I floor it as much as I can. But they didn't get it right. Now I won't write exactly, just so it's not numbers. But you get the idea.
They didn't get it because you got scared.
No, I didn't reach 300, and I decide to go back for a second try. The conversation makes the experience longer. I get it. It stretches out time. Now we're back to linear time.
Okay.
And I head back for a second attempt, but again it didn't work, and I reach the other end and I come up with a brilliant idea, right? Why do I always try in one direction? The path is the same, so I can try on the way back too. But the path itself had a slight unevenness. Yeah, and I'm always used to coming from the other side, right? And now, as I'm going back, it still doesn't occur to me if it's going to happen, and that's how I am. I've already picked up some really good speed. And at the moment when the bike kind of jumped a little, just when I looked at the speedometer and saw the number, and it got lighter, man. The handlebars got lighter, like when you play games, on a wheel, how it gets lighter. And when it got lighter, there was no sound, no picture. Everything went black, just black. And in the next moment, I open my eyes and look around, left and right. I keep going forward. I'm on the gas all the way, and I say to myself, I'm alive, that's good. So I ease off the gas right away. So when the bike started to wobble, it lost stability. When you accelerate or slow down, I immediately give it some gas again, slowly, like this, and then I stop. And now I know that someone took control, you understand? The question is, who took control? And very soon after that, I saw this reality. It's a spaceship, and I said to myself, well, it's mine, I took control, most likely.
And then, after you finished with the ship, did you actually draw the parallel with your current self? To not be like that, to take that lesson into your current experience, to not risk the lives of others, even if that's clear?
Yeah, that's clear.
No, because it's important to know that the connection with these other selves, regressions, they are directly connected to the choice. And actually, when you wake up, the idea is to see after you've seen that segment, so it's connected to the feelings you emit. That is, it's fine whether you do it now or not, that's what I think.
Yes?
Of course, now it won't be with spaceships, but it will be with a motorcycle or a boat or whatever. Yes.
It's a continuation of it because, the parallel realities keep opening up, right? And the thing is, the more things we learn and the higher our frequency gets, let's call it that. If we raise those vibrations and purity levels, the more we start to connect with our other selves who have those same purity levels or similar ones, close to them. And so one time, suddenly, that version of myself appeared, the one who had quite a bit of financial capability. And he tells me that ever since I first appeared until now, actually, he has started to feel much better. He started getting involved with, started searching for spiritual things, and actually his life began to take on a different meaning. Wow. And now I'm starting to wonder, so this is it, right? Until now I was always the one searching, right? But now someone came looking for me. So the connection is two-way, right? It's not one-way. Ooh, and just 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was already starting to happen. I'm glad you're moving like a real film editor, slowly building to the climax instead of rushing it.
But the question is,
That I'm sleeping, you're not doing ancestral meditation.
but creator,
You're sleeping, I'm not doing anything. Yes, I'm just sleeping and dreaming. But this time, it lights up in 3D. Okay, fine, I see a forest.
this time you see it, yes?
I see it very clearly, a forest. Snow and a man is sleeping on the road, but obviously it's cold. That man looks frozen. And now I see this thing, but no feelings, no thoughts, I just see it. And no reaction, right? And at one point I start to physically feel cold, real cold myself now. I open my eyes and look, for example, at the blanket, and it's as if someone grabbed it and threw it to the other side of the room. And I'm thinking, look, what's going on? I cover myself up, and the moment you cover up, the warmth comes right away. Yeah, and just as I start to feel the warmth,
Yeah.
I close my eyes and it just instantly lights up. He's a little guy. It's like he woke up, and now I'm starting to feel this myself, And he woke up and started rubbing his hands and feet. And as he starts rubbing them, I start to feel it in the same places. Warmth. And he got up and I woke up. Actually, I'm aware, and the thing is, I gave him warmth, you understand. That was like an energy package. It was just like someone took control of the motorcycle. Yeah. And I landed us somewhere, so I passed it on to this other self of mine. And that's where it comes from. But again, logically,
What is your conclusion from this? All of this is amazing.
the conclusion is that, for example, we, ourself, wherever it may be, with all realities, is like a network. And in many cases, when we receive some help from somewhere and we say, oh, that's my angel, actually it's your other self from somewhere else, right? And the idea is that the power is within ourselves. We can help ourselves. And that's basically it. I saw it in some way and now I'm trying to convey it. But everyone can do it, but everyone can convey it. They do, in their own way.
But in their own way, and as an aside,
In their own way. And since now with one of my 2 other selves, I communicate regularly like this. And that's the idea, the more conscious you become in every reality, the more conscious that part of the whole soul becomes. If the sun is like an imprint, this imprint becomes higher vibrationally, the whole thing. And in a way, everyone can be better. And that's something that personally makes a lot of sense to me. I really like it.
I like it very much. It's very logical and cool.
Until now, whenever I've heard about it, people have prayed to various angels, archangels, and similar beings. But now, this thing with the motorcycle, look, why would Archangel Michael care that some idiot decided to ride a motorcycle? He can't deal with all of them, and that's why we help ourselves. For example, such beings help in other situations.
So, are you denying these beings? No, they exist. But that's you, your network of selves, which takes care of everything. So, like the mother of the bees?
Something like that.
It's not an exact analogy, but sooner or later everyone goes to the mother, right? Yes. From that point of view,
I can join in to say that it is. I really like that you're saying this because I am. The other day I was telling this in the webinar and I had exactly this kind of information, very interesting, that when we dream, besides receiving messages, They told me, but why do you think the connection is one way? It's always two-way. Whenever you enter somewhere, you give information as you receive information. I mean, it's a fact that, for example, while you're sleeping, you see a number of things, and at the same time, for example, I was asking myself, why do the same things that happened in daily life appear in dreams or similar situations but processed in some way? And that was exactly it, that we also give information while we take information from all these three experiences. So yes.
And I was saying, by saying it like this, we give information while we take it. Then, if we think about the fourth law, what you put out is what you get, which is very simply put. That means that you, in a sense, in this moment, stepping outside your own life toward what you want, dreams, goals, a state of being, happiness, love, you're radiating all of that. And toward all those versions of yourself that are like that. Here it's good to draw a parallel with the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know if you've seen it. Everything Always Constantly at Once. No, that's exactly about this thing in which if we accept this two-way line and connection between you and your impulses, you constantly send back and forth to all those different versions of yourself. But the thing is, you don't know at any given moment what you're projecting or how it affects him. It affects all of them.
That's true as well, yes.
Which is very interesting. I mean, you get feedback from 1, 2, 3 people, for example, but what about the others and the rest?
At least that's how I explain it to myself, that the feedback we get is from those who are on a similar frequency to us. For example, now someone is being gripped by their ego. There's no control there either. For example, I'm far from that. Or there's another option, like somewhere where it's extremely high. The vibration is high, right? I'm not even there. I have a version of myself that I can't even reach because it's very high frequency and I'm just not ready, right, to even be there.
And how does that resonate with the concept of, how do you define higher self? If we look at things from that perspective,
well, that's complicated. I don't know how to explain it.
Because while you said it, with this network, if we imagine it as made up of everyone, can we say that in this case, the higher self is the consciousness of the whole network? Or is that a different thing?
No, it's something like that. Yes.
Because every network has its own consciousness. It also thinks just like planet Earth is alive, but right now we're looking at it like a ball out in the cosmos, but it's alive, right? In the same way, this network is also consciousness, it's alive, and all of this that surrounds it.
Yes.
Ultimate self.
That is the whole self, a computer with many programs. Exactly. We are just some little programs there. Well, there are a lot of cameras here, but what you're filming, so to speak, is the same. So, about the higher self, I don't know how to define it. It's just what we are too.
I started from there because I remembered and I left. I wanted to ask you how you define these beings, the others, and the selves, You believe that there are such beings? But there are also parallel versions of everyone. All of this exists.
Yes, everything exists. Yes, and this higher self, if we call it that, is one, and it is the source. At least that's how I see it, right? Or the soul, yes, because somewhere out there, everything has to be one. And that's exactly it. That's the good thing, the cool thing, because I realize these things and somehow a greater sense of calm comes. Because you are never alone. No one is alone, I'm only putting it in the singular because that's the only real thing. No one is alone. The question is how you interpret it or how you understand it, to what extent you want to see it or realize it.
And for you, what about you? How did you manage to accept this, the whole thing, that it's true for you? How did you do it? He told us, no, that's nonsense, I won't deal with it, I'm going back to my usual things. It became very complicated. This isn't for me.
I don't know. I'm just curious, but this has happened to me, and that has happened to me too. So, in the mountains, especially here in Vitosha, I walk around a lot without knowing where I'm going. I needed to know where I should go. And at one point, it's like I get a kind of vision, right? Just a little, and the things I see, I say to myself, oh no, this isn't it anymore. Okay, of course. And here movies and science fiction start to mix. Here it's already Vencislav the person, and he started to take part in this movie. These things are already too fantastic. And at that moment, I start to go back. But I don't know where I am, of course. How am I supposed to get back? I have, a watch, a wristwatch, and I look at it. It's really great. For example, a few kilometers, I've been walking through the forest like that. There's no path, nothing. It's starting to get dark. I'm already scared physically, I reach some road, I start running. But then I look, I take a turn, I end up on some other road. I'm not sure where I left the car, and you should have seen how I got back. So with the phone, with the watch, and I still can't get there, I can't reach the car. And that's when the ego, for example, takes control and the antenna is turned off. From, being able to know where you're going without any problem to complete disorientation. Well, that's what it's like when you turn off the switch. That's it.
That's it. Then the ego doesn't come into play.
No, then it starts to, when it takes control, what are these things? Coffees, what are these?
So how did you move to Sofia?
Well, after I saw things like that with my own steps, and as I can say about a few things, everything you have to do is everything you don't like, right? In order to change your environment.
What didn't you like then?
Practically speaking, yes, practically speaking now. You have some job there, something, let's say it's a family business, right? Other people from my family are involved there, How could I just suddenly disappear, right? I've been thinking about these things for a long time, but I never took such steps. Besides, there's personal life, all those kinds of things. But after seeing the result, it's like, I realized that's not the whole picture. And I told myself, there's always progress after some difficulties, not to say suffering, but let's say some kind of difficulty, right? And so I decided, and then things fell into place in an unimaginable way.
In what sense?
Well, for example, I found a job in a week without really looking for one. I just told my brother, and then a week later, some friends called me. He goes, Lives, what? Nesebar. No, he's from Nesebar. We're here in Sofia. Then I come to look for an apartment. No.
And we're in Sofia?
Well, I'll probably look for something here on Vitosha Boulevard. Yeah. I'm still looking around there. It's close by. And I'm looking straight for an apartment, still wandering around with all those endless hassles. Yeah.
Man, but you're taking action. Come on now, right? No details, but that's how it looks. So...
That you've left?
You sat down at a cafe and did nothing. And people will say, well, yeah, that's how it is. If you just wish for it, things just work out for him. How does that happen? How does that happen?
And this happens with, for example, things like that. Every morning, for example, meditation and things like that, they're constant, right? I need to have some kind of connection in order to have some kind of security, right? I wasn't completely sure, but as things started falling into place, there had to be a reason for everything lining up like that.
So overall, you, like me, have a very deep stability, a very deep trust, confidence that things always happen for the best, that they will happen. Even though sometimes his physical self might feel bad, might feel like a mess, and not think about it that way at all.
Yes, and I've also gone through periods where I was looking for some physical, evidence to see something, and I've had such moments, but it always shows up. Some kind of coincidence that
confuses
you to show you that things aren't so random.
And everything fell into place in a week. You found a job in just a month.
Yes. And, these are relatively serious things, to change the whole picture like that. It's not that everything is completely in order now, but let's say I'm much more.
How would you describe the old Vensi compared to who you are now, that other self? What are the differences in the frequencies?
Well, I mean, the frequencies are completely different because that me had a lot more fears, for example, and those things lower the frequencies. What do you mean by fears, worries? Basically, all of them that are negative, the positive ones were, let's say, just a few. But now, my perception of the world, of myself, of others, and of how everything happens is completely different. I'm just really convinced now that whatever happens, it will always have some good effect over time. And for example, the things that happened, let's say 15 years ago, when I think about them now, actually, they're neither good nor bad. It's just something that happened. But during those years, though, I used to get really angry about all sorts of things, about why this is like that, why that is like this.
Have you ever been aggressive or not? No?
No. And so basically, trial and error. If nothing works, we have to find something that works better. And the moment you start down a path that is, let's call it the path of the soul, or you're close to it, that is, then you start connecting with people who have similar ideas and all sorts of other things start coming your way, shows, all kinds of things. People say things you've been thinking.
Absolutely.
Then you start seeing the things they're talking about.
Can you give me an example of something that once you realized this, you thought about it, and then you saw how you were programming yourself more and more to think that way? And then it started happening to the people around you. And in reality and overall, what you thought of as an idea some time ago is now happening, and you are just a spectator of it. Now it seems like it's always been that way.
Exactly. In sequence, I'm sure, right? Yes, but can I really put it together that quickly? But for example, I've seen how during a regression session, again, in our regression session, we see an event. I know the person there in that world, in this reality, my friend. Was he in the same role again? Was he your friend there again? Or do you just happen to see him?
Do you see him there? Was it the same role again? Was he your friend there again? Or do you just happen to see him?
We did some things together, let's say.
In the here and now, he's your friend.
Yeah. And then things ended really badly, let's put it that way. And after it was over, actually the lesson I learned was that I understood from a different perspective why they made those decisions and why I made mine. And those participants who were there, they're in my current life. Really. And this particular person, I hadn't spoken to him for a long time. He called me either on the same day or the next day. And I did it, and it was nice. We really hadn't spoken for quite a while because our paths had separated, some things happened, and this person called me.
And how do you explain this thing?
Well, what I understand now, with the imprint, it's instantaneous. You change something.
And there is an immediate reaction.
The reaction is immediate. Yes, for example, he realized this on a soul level and just sent information to the avatar that he most likely wasn't aware of, but he just received a signal. Something to sense, something like that. And because, yes, this resonates now, when we help others, the effect is instant. It immediately gets processed everywhere. And actually, to some extent, you could even say that if the network has a single consciousness, the whole network balances itself. Each one balances the network in some way.
Yes, and
you, and for example, you, the things you connect to, because the person who froze in the forest, you've connected like that several times already. Actually, they are close to us in frequency, but that doesn't mean close in linear time then.
Vensi, that's very interesting.
What is close to you? Actually, it is. I'm not exactly sure which year it is, but it's at least 300 or 400 years ago. So, I mean, the frequencies there are already important. And the idea of this linear time is already starting to take on a quite different form.
There's a question from the audience. How many parallel selves can a person have? Can one person have? Oh.
Go, come on.
I don't have one. That's the coolest answer. That's the coolest answer. Go.
I have no idea how many there are. Just look, So I realized the close ones frequency-wise, but who are they?
And there are extremely many of them.
And they change. Yes.
Yes, and they change because when you change your frequency, you change
The nearby ones. Frequency-wise, yes, you jump, you leap, you go ahead of someone else.
How do you know that this thing, how do you manage to understand that it's not Wenceslav making it up, but information from the potential? When did you manage to learn to distinguish when it's the inventions of the ego, of the mask, and when it's pure information?
Well, yes, that's also an interesting point because I had a lot of doubts whether this inner voice, which isn't really a voice, it's just information. And, you know, where does this information come from? Because it can come from many places. And so I ended up in a session with the author of quite a few books, with Sarah Kelly, yes?
I mean, with Sarah Kelly. Yes.
Yes, I had a session with him, but he wasn't there. He wasn't coming to Bulgaria then, but I kept searching, sent emails, and got forwarded around. Finally, I wrote, saying I wanted to work with them directly and didn't want to wait or deal with other things. And in the end, they decided and said, okay, you know, there was a live session, online, yes, online. It was online. And he, as you know, he's quite an interesting person. And I asked him the absolutely direct question, the information that reaches me, where does it come from? And he directly said, this is the higher self. And what you receive is for your own good, you know, the highest good. So from that moment on, I never doubted it again. Yes.
The question is how, I mean, how do you feel it? When you mentioned the forest, that's what made me interested. How do you know that it's the ego? I mean, Wenceslav, who stays in control and for a moment silences the whole palette of signals and information. And when something comes, you say to yourself, this is me, this is my true self, because that's very subtle.
Well, it was very strange for me at first. Very strange.
Because some situation might come up that helps me understand it better, so I can understand it better.
Some things are happening in real time.
Some event happened. Yes, this one.
Maybe after this session, you know, while I was wondering which one, I was wondering how real it is. And actually, it was, you know, some kind of community, like something I can understand and imagine when I talk to some people. And immediately the thought in my head is he lying or not? Lying. Because that's a topic that ever since I was little, I really don't like it when people tell me things that aren't true. And imagine someone says something and in my head the thought is, he's lying. That's something I can check right away. In most cases, it can be checked immediately. And with my son, especially since we don't live together, he calls me, he starts talking nonstop, and I think he's lying. Why are you lying, man? Be quiet, be quiet. 5 seconds of silence, and then he starts talking nonstop again. Second thought. Those aren't his words, and I tell him, why don't you speak your own words? And again, silence, and the third time, is it good now? Am I okay now?
And he starts again.
Now let me tell you. Yes.
This is very useful.
But this is actually useful. Yes, it was useful, but it wasn't pleasant at all. Because you understand that a lot of the things people tell you aren't what they really think, and that's what I love to do. I said, please stop it, turn off this program because it's really bad, honestly.
So how do you manage in the beginning? Because all of us have that way of thinking. We tend to think, to worry about what others will say about us, what they think of us, how they define us, how we look in their eyes.
and that's already my default.
You already have that, Wilmosh. You're solid there, solid as iron.
It's always caused me problems for as long as I can remember. Apparently, it dragged me down a lot in some other lives. It messed me up a lot, even now. Yeah, that's how I showed up here. Honestly, I still don't care if it's super or not. Not even 100%, but let's say that percentage is extremely small.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I have some goal that I want to achieve somehow. The goals are starting to change, right? But the path to it is more or less the same.
And now, having all this clarity and having come to this understanding, what do you dream about at the moment?
For some time now, I don't even think I'm dreaming about anything, because dreaming, I don't know how to put it. I mean, dreams are more about the ego, right? A dream, I don't know. I don't know how you understand it, but I see it as something you want to have. That thing is kind of, wow, something big, right? And it's not here now, and you dream about it. And, that's how I understand it, so I don't really have any dreams. I have, let's call them more like directions or guidelines. What I want to do so I can be better. But I don't have a final goal or a framework or, I want to become president or something like that. Now, about your dreams, as you said, that's only been the case recently, right? Meditations always, change over time. And let's say, everything in this world is dual. At least that's how we see it. There's a plus, there's also a minus, there's up, there's also down, there's light, there's also dark. And among all these things, at one point I discovered a kind of space where you just exist, and it's like emptiness.
How did you discover that space?
Well, I don't know. It's just like that, because usually, when I meditate, for example, most of the time I have some intentions, what I want to achieve, how to achieve it, You set it as an intention, but at that moment, for example, you remain in the emptiness, in a kind of nothingness, as if you let go of the intention, and in a way you just wait. However, let's say in 10 minutes you can set 15 intentions, right? At some point I realized that, since I more or less know what time it is when I start, and I always do my morning breathing techniques, and during them, I start building some kind of plan, but I don't really have a plan. And I tell myself, well, I'll just stay in nothingness and see what happens, That's the plan.
Yes.
Yes, something will come from somewhere, it's really nice in nothingness. There's nothing there, and you just sit. And dude, no, because I know, the breathing technique, how many minutes it is. I know it's long, what time it was. Because I play some recordings, because I don't want to count, to distract myself with things like that. And for example, I think that, let's say 10 minutes have passed, but when I look at the clock, it's actually been 40 minutes. So that means I've been somewhere for 30 minutes, somewhere I call the void, like nowhere, basically. And now, a little later, I realized that actually that's what it means to be in the heart, There. And that's the other thing. I mean, after the first few times, I feel there's something that's different, from anything else. And then I started with the intention, to just stay there until I understand what's different. And that's when I realized that actually that's what's different. There's no polarity, there's no plus, there's no minus. It's just something beneath the surface.
It's one.
And then I realized that actually that's what it means to be in the field of the heart, because there isn't.
But how is it connected to the heart? How did you make that connection?
You attended a strange seminar. From that for you.
Behind me is Thoth or Jehuti in Egyptian. What does it say to you when you see it this way? What do you feel? That's interesting. I haven't asked that since all guests see it.
I feel it.
I've been wanting to ask you that the whole show.
By the way, I feel it too. I know why you're asking me. I feel it and I sense it. It's just her, so to speak. The information that has reached our entire civilization comes from beings like him, a few of them. Honestly, I don't know exactly how the story goes.
But tell me what you know.
Now they've involved me in this whole thing, you see.
Come on, you're not here with me. You meet with a few and he tells you, hey, I'm really attracted to an image. This is the image.
The image is you. Ha ha ha. Hey, now I really have no idea how you're going to explain that. And I have a lot of information too, but there's no way I can put myself in a state as if I have no information at all.
But what would you say to that person? What is this? What do you see? What do you know? How do you understand it?
I understand it as sending a messenger to the source to bring the information in a way that we can understand, to translate that information for us into our language. And since we don't understand it, Buddha has to come, Christ has to come, Dunov has to come. There have to be many such translators who constantly translate for us into the current language, the one we understand at the moment. But otherwise, at the core, everything comes down to that. Or the first one.
No, because when you mentioned civilization, it got me interested. What do you know about the topic? I'm thinking specifically about those times.
Oh, about those times, I mean in Atlantis. Fatvan tila samhorio samu idzimpad. It was, well, so grandiose. You can't get another impression. Well,
Sarazon, 1,000 times often.
you can't get another impression there. I only remember the temples, those huge ones when you look up. It was really impressive in Atlantis.
But in Egypt, I don't have many
Experiences. And in Egypt overall. You see, I haven't been to such physical places. I haven't really shown up because, for example, I've heard all sorts of stories about how people see things. I mean, through others, right? Whereas I always show up somewhere where there is something I need to see and understand. With some kind of lesson, in a way. And they're more like short stories, you know, not like watching a movie. And for example, there's one that's really funny from when I started to realize that all the abilities we have, you know, can be developed. Those that are close to us, we have the ability to see and use them. You know, just imagine, as I'm sleeping, a dream suddenly appears. But it's real 3D. I mean, I'm in a casino in Vegas and I'm holding my whiskey exactly the way I used to hold my glass when I was drinking. Alcohol, you know, exactly the same, except I'm a woman and I'm holding a glass of whiskey. And I'm watching a roulette wheel and it's spinning, it lands on a number, and as I'm watching the roulette, a second screen appears above showing where the number goes, and I'm tapping on the squares and that number comes up.
Everything is spot on. You stay steady. The feeling is
That you're a god and you've been a god. I'm drinking my whiskey. It's a great feeling. They spin the roulette again.
again.
I'm looking at the monitor and the number again. I see the number. I push the chips there. I'm standing there grinning from ear to ear. There's a second little monitor, and on the second little monitor, I see security being told something, and they're coming towards me. I just pushed the chips a little. Another number came up. I lost. They took my chips, and the security went back. Well, that's life in Cuba. And that thing went out. And the lesson was that all the abilities and gifts we have, we should use them to be good and to help others. You know, and in this way, even though the feeling was very, very fun.
Yeah, but look at what it is. That's all. Even if you have some fun at first, you'll usually pay for it afterward.
And it will get boring. And yes,
It will get boring.
I don't know why you're saying that. Yes, that's because it is. Yes, why am I saying it? But actually, Because even in real life, it dawned on me. It's like that 2 or 3 times, like the security, yes, yes, yes. And it's very, very scary because, you're here, let's say what we call being here, but in the studio. And suddenly one monitor lights up, then a second monitor lights up, and you're in both places, but actually you're here too, and you know what you're doing in all 3 places. You feel it even now. It's very scary, and I wake up, but when I open my eyes, I see the window, but I also see the other things. And just imagine, from one of the monitors, it just turns around. My spiritual guides were there, and he turns to me and says, "Calm down." He says, "It's even better that you woke up. Remember what happens?" And then he turned away. And man, I'm watching, but now I'm starting to feel scared. I mean, they started to become the same size, the first monitor, the second, and the third. And now I don't know which one is where, because Salah luckily told me that besides seeing them, I can also fit into them, but it's very dangerous and I shouldn't do it. And now suddenly this thought comes to me, but I don't know, and I say, "I want you to bring me back." And the same one turns to me again and asks, "Where?" And now, a thought, and I remember again from the cogitality. What did they call it? The line that is in the present moment. They had some exact hypersphere. No, not this current reality. Well, how? Anyway, yes. Let's say this is the present, and I say I want the current one. He turns to me again and says, "All 3 of them are present." All 3 are present, right? Where do you want to go? And now I'm telling you, this is when I really started to feel fear, because I don't really sense it, but I know that the other 2 can really fade away into the third one. And as I watch, I keep watching, and I tell him, "Here, this is the continuation where we see it here as well." The window is in front of me, and the other 2 faded away, and I'm just standing there. It's around 3 o'clock, and I feel like my pulse is 300. I go down to the kitchen, and now, since there's no laser coming back, I can see myself from every side. And that's how it was after that too. It happened one more time, but only 2 lights turned on, just 2. It's easy.
Has this ever happened to you? To be in a dream, to think you're just like you are now, to start wandering around the same place where you live, searching in front of me? Everything is exactly the same, and at one point you realize, oh, actually you're dreaming.
No, not exactly like that. But once I had another interesting dream, which was kind of the opposite. I was dreaming some nonsense. Things were happening that made no sense at all, at least for me. I'm observing this dream, and I'm trying to figure out why I'm seeing it. But there isn't any reason, and I tell myself in the dream, what I'm seeing is pointless. Why am I seeing this? It's not useful to me, and it's just a dream. I turn it off and another one lights up, and I start observing that one too, but it's also chaotic.
Yes.
Meaningless. I look at it, and I tell myself again, this is also meaningless, man, because I see it and it lights up. Third dream, I see an even bigger nonsense. I look, and I tell myself, well, this is even more meaningless. I don't want to take part in this thing. Even as I say it, I just see some guy talking. I have this guy, who has taught him a lot of things, and I see how he calls him and tells him. I don't know how much he learns because he's a person, but he catches on slowly, really slowly. We've been trying it for a long time, he sees, but it's very slow, really slow. And I say to myself, can you imagine, even in dreams, things like that happen? Wow. And from today's point of view, actually, those were signs, right? Now I explain it to myself in a completely different way.
How do you explain it to yourself now?
Well, now I explain it to myself through those parallel selves that were out there somewhere and decided, for example, to help them. They saw some little person wandering around there not knowing what to do, and they said to themselves, okay, let's help him a little now. And that's how I explain it to myself, at least for now, right? Next week, in 2 weeks, maybe I'll have.
Then it might be different.
Completely different, a different idea about the whole world.
Wow, from Udavi, I want to ask you about Interstellar. When did you watch it for the first time? The very first time?
I watched it, well, just now, about 2 months ago. Maybe someone mentioned it somewhere again.
What impression did the movie leave on you, and how did you interpret it?
Well, one of the things that made the strongest impression on me was the main character, of course. And his confidence that he can achieve anything and handle any situation. And you know, they put him in situations where he has no idea how to react, right? But what they're telling us is that, for example, his confidence automatically puts him in the field. Yeah, and he starts making the right decisions about things he's never even done before. Just from the source. But we needed a bit of a Hollywood story for Dema to end things naturally, you know, something light with a happy ending. But I think that's the main thing, right? This thing with time and space, you know, to discuss it somehow, it's probably aimed at a wider audience now, right? So that those who don't believe, let's call it that, can get an idea that time has quite a lot. I don't even know how to put it.
Anomaly? He took it for me, Ma. This is an anomaly.
But this is an anomaly.
From a time perspective, it's an anomaly, but more broadly, it's not.
I would say that what time is for us, even if you go somewhere else, it's different and you're still the same. In other words, the difference is here, not in you, not in the avatar, but the difference is in the place. The place. This is the earth, your seats, and a parade of vibrations and frequencies. That's where the difference is, right? Because he, the person, is the same, right? Before he leaves, he's the same there. As when you go, you're still the same. And when you come back, you're still the same, but everything else is different.
How does a person free themselves from fear, from your perspective?
Well, from fear specifically through awareness. When you realize that you are not alone, that the reality you see is not all there is, or all that multi-layered stuff, then you expand. Yes, when you expand. Or for example, before things like that happened to me in the mountains, when I went one of the first times, when I looked from above, it was this huge thing, and you are so tiny, and that feeling was really nice for me. I mean, we are just a dot, and then the next moment you think you're super important, but actually in the mountains, you're just a dot. Imagine yourself in the universe. What are you? Just a dot? A dot? That's what you are, and that's it. Actually, when you start to realize these things and these fears, I don't know, at least for me, they disappear.
That's interesting to me. How do you handle them since it's impossible for them not to show up?
They do appear. Yes, from time to time, some fears show up, but at least I try not to keep them going. It's like in meditation, you know, when you get a thought, it's okay, but if you keep following it, then it's not okay. And it's the same with fear. Well said. And the motorcycle also helped me a lot because the difference between real fear and imagined fear is huge. You know, when you start to come out of a turn and it's over. Fear is very different from just being afraid, like whether it's going to rain, for example.
Or if a bear comes out in front of you?
Yeah, or if a bear comes out in front of you at a meter's distance.
Yeah, a meter.
Those real ones, when you start to distinguish what's real and what's imaginary, and that actually the imaginary ones probably.
There are a lot more of them, but at the same time, they're illusions. They're powerless.
And they don't happen. They don't emit anything. Somewhere I heard about some percentage, but it was big, probably over 90, that most of these things or worries also don't happen. They're also pointless and they just drain your energy, right? Yeah, if you're like a battery, like on your phone, for example, you have 100%, and now you get up and while you're drinking your coffee. If you're like my mom, for example, you get 120 worries and your battery is at 50%.
Exactly, and you.
But look how much.
You have such a simple way of explaining things.
From the start, you already, when they're faced with real life. And now at this seminar, for example, they explained it very clearly, whether it will be, for example, a light body. To activate your third eye, whatever it is, you can do it, but the moment, for example, something happens in real life. Someone comes up to you and you say, hey, and boom, everything click. And how does the third eye open? And now I have to. That's why you have to start the steps all over again. Yes?
That's why I wrote this line in the book. Try to be zen while someone cuts you off on the ring road. Because there, if you do it, you know, it's not exactly being zen. What you decide to be, then you see that it works. Otherwise, it's just an idea. You watch it, you read it, you think about it for a moment. Sometimes you reflect on it, but you lose it and you don't have that awareness that it's everywhere. You constantly carry it with you. That's why the Force is with you in Star Wars. And besides,
that you carry it, you radiate it. For example, if someone cuts you off and you radiate fear, which is inside you, what will they say to me? What will happen? It's fear. It spreads everywhere. And when they sense that fear, everyone reacts in their own way. But let's say that in most cases, some kind of aggression increases. And for example, when you look with a smile, the chance of something happening to you is much, much smaller.
absolutely, because it...
Yes, right. Besides the fact that we are antennas that receive, we also transmit exactly.
This is a very important note.
Just as we receive, we also constantly transmit.
Constantly, the double connection, which we established and confirmed today, also works as a receiving and transmitting protocol.
Yes, something like that.
You took part in DIY sound therapy with Valeto. Oh yes. And then when you give feedback after you listen to it, there was a voice message you sent afterwards about a book. Do you remember? Can you tell that story?
Yes, that's the whole story. Sound therapy is extremely interesting because at first, when I first came across sound therapy, I thought to myself, what did I think? What could that be? That was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, what is sound therapy supposed to mean? Okay, yes, I mean, she sings very well, that's clear. Well, yeah, but what else could it be? Your mom, who's hanging by the river, looking at the face and looking at me and nothing. Not just mine? What? And I just left it as something that once was someone, I don't know, I just left it. I mean, if he's doing it, then there must be some reason. After that, when I heard you talking about channeling, I'm really interested in the topic of channeling. Since it hasn't happened to me, I thought, well, it's clear that it happens, right? But how much of it is a choice is the question, right? Like with Bashar, do you choose someone, things like that. But once during meditation, they directly told me, you need sound therapy from Steve from Otvalia.
Well,
yeah, and I told her and they told me, say that you need it. The frequencies of 3 planets. She knows what to do. And now I'm stuck, Now what do I do? I wrote down what I heard, but now I wonder what these frequencies are. And she told me, it's like love, just say it like that. You want love from 3 planets. And now it feels really strange to me, but I tell myself, well, if that's how it has to be, exactly. I call for a wish and she writes me a question and a wish, but now there's no me, there are no questions. And I said directly, well, that's what they told me. And she said, okay. And I thought, great. Oh, even better. Yeah. And after a while, she sent me the file. And I was right in the store. And I leave the store, I put on my earbuds, and I say to myself, let me hear what this is. Nothing. And as I'm at the traffic light, as I'm walking toward the traffic light, I stop at the light. And then she starts singing MV Kirin.
but are you playing it in the car?
I'm walking, just minding my own business, walking to my apartment. And when I hear that, I'm telling you, Seno, it's like an electric shock hits me, And I'm thinking, first of all, this is something she's singing. I've heard it. Wow, I've heard it. And while I'm thinking about where it is, suddenly someone pushes me from behind and I start moving because the light turned green, but I'm not in front, so I start walking. I'm walking now and I start wondering, now, I've heard this. Even while I'm walking, she's still going, right? And I'm listening and I'm walking, but Are you listening to it on headphones? Yes, yes, yes. Are you listening to it on headphones? But wait, let me just stop for a moment, because at the beginning of the sound therapy, I always say, find yourself a quiet place where no one will disturb you, to be in a calm environment. He played it while leaving the store. That's how it's done. The dynamics, the arrangement, it's not interesting to me. Arrangement in chaos, yes. And while I'm walking, I realize that's one of the things. That was part of one of the spells, where in one of the regressions, again, the regression, I was at the stake being burned, and above it was tied. But that's how it is now, I'm afraid, because I've felt different emotions. There, in the torture, well, it's not pleasant at all, and I tell myself, now this burning is horrible, it's really bad, but now I know the keys, I'm more experienced, and stop, okay, now go back. You know there's burning. You click, click, click. But until I see one of two things, and again on the pyre, and that's how it burns along the way, but I keep going back. And in the end, I say, okay, I don't want to go through it. I just want to be an observer, to step outside of it, just to see it from the side. It'll still be tough, probably. And I think to myself, no, you have to experience it. And I tell myself, I'll burn. What can you do? If they want it, I'll burn and just stay there. But I feel that actually this person is not worried at all. Myself up there is not bothered at all. No. Actually, it's the opposite. Absolute confidence. He knows why he's there, knows what will happen. He just stands and watches. You see, and they're tying me up, man. I can actually feel how they're tying me up, Later, I even wondered why every time, because they've burned me 2 or 3 times. Why are my hands always free, Why is that? I found some pictures, and they really did tie them up with their hands free. Yeah, most women had their hands free, so that they could either pray or something like that. Like for the great ones or something like that. Peshe, and when they lit the fire, my inner self said something very similar to what Valya sings. When he said it, and he was absolutely transported to another dimension. There's no pain, no burning, nothing, just go up. And he knew where he was going, how to do it, absolutely, phew. And he just flew away, and the regression was over. I couldn't figure out what bothered Ostanata like that, but the point was, those things, it's clear. The knowledge they had before was much more helpful than now. But with sound therapy, well, this thing, I started to feel different elements of what she was doing each time from some other parts. And somehow they started to guide me. For example, through meditation, I started to find myself in completely different places. And for example, I didn't really have a goal. In the morning now, I will start my sound therapy. And at the right moment, they directly tell me, now start your sound therapy. And I just start it without knowing what will happen or where I will go. And then something happens. And this thing, for example, happens now. I don't know, how to relate it to time. But for quite a long time, things were constantly coming together. And for example, one of my guides back then was connecting with me a lot. And he was that third planet, which I just couldn't understand. Oh my. And when he appeared, we would go directly with our planet and end up somewhere in nothingness. The other two, I understood them. No, now that you ask, I'm still waiting for my mother. That's how much I understood who they are. What was that? You had sent a book? Yes, that's happening now, right? Quite some time has passed. 2 or 3 months. Yes, at least 2 or 3 months have passed. And for example, I haven't listened to the sound therapy for I don't know how long, for example. Sometimes when I go running, I play it while I run. It's still a calm place, like she said, because it's very, calm. And I take a book about some shamanic stories because I get these stories about shamanism, but never with any details. I just know that there was something, right? In some reincarnations, I've been there. I've seen myself, but I haven't really reached that knowledge in any way. Yeah. And apparently I'm far from there. That's how I define it, by frequency. And I decide now I'll get a book, I'll start reading, and that'll be it. Yeah, still, I start reading the book little by little. There aren't any big things, just things I feel, and at some point I read the author's name. When he was with some Native Americans, I don't even know where it was, Mexico or the States, I'm not sure, because he had traveled all over the world, and during a shamanic ritual where they were looking for a helper from the other world, a helper. They had to go to a special place, some kind of waterfall, and there. He said the ceremony was very interesting because they hadn't told him anything, like you, because he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. And he just started spinning in circles and jumping and repeating this Tao, Tao, Tao. And when I read it, boom, she sings it, but extremely clearly and precisely, absolutely extremely clearly and precisely in sound therapy. She sings Tao, Tao, exactly what is written in the book. Yes, exactly the same. And now I'm standing there watching him and thinking to myself, interesting coincidence, right? Second thought, no way she's read all the books in the world, right? That's just a joke, it's obvious. The thought that came, the third thought is, damn it, constant thought, ha ha ha, constant thought. She defines the Hermetic laws, almost all of them. Almost. And the Hermetic principles, I want to tell you, a lot of the things I've heard, why aren't the Hermetic principles taught in school? I went to a construction school, you learn half of them there without even knowing that's what they are. You understand as above, so below. Right away, that's the very first principle. You say something to someone, you don't. There, as above, so below is absolutely clear for for the rhythm, the sequence where it flowed, it will flow again. This is absolute. The ancient Hermeticists know it, as do all those who have ever built anything. This principle explains many other things as well, right? They mix them up. We won't talk about lineage. They are also very strong there. But anyway, they're not from the horse. They're not from the horse with these Hermetics. Tao, 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 Tao. Yes, and when I look at it, after the first ones like that, actually, I really like this thing. Why? Immediately, the thought was that her channel is completely clear. Strong, and there are no filters at all. Do you understand? So I don't know how to explain to her what I need, and she does it. So that's the first thing. If we compare it to a program, the input data from me is missing. She manages it with a database she doesn't know, and the effect is wow. So therefore, the things that direct all these things they work, yes, and they are outside of us. Like now I heard how the soul works, like a needle and thread, sometimes it's hard to thread it, and people have said, imagine 1,000 needles and you as a single thread. They thread you everywhere, your whole life. If you throw away the thread, they thread you everywhere anyway. Needles. Well, that's what the soul does in most cases, right? So that's what Valya does too, right?
It's really cool that you said that. This is a great case. This kind.
That for channeling, it really just means all the people who reach her are exactly the right people who are supposed to reach her. They are exactly the right people who are supposed to get there, to receive the exact information that she will receive. That is, so that what is most likely meant to happen can happen.
What is the purpose, according to that is?
The purpose? Now, this Sunday, it became clear to me what it is that, for example, our desires, or well, desires generally speaking right now, most of them are connected to the dual world or this material one that we see. And even though we can look at things quite spiritually, the other side still remains. And when you enter, for example, the heart, when that duality disappears, actually the desires disappear too. And for example, you have some intention, but when you find yourself there, the intention disappears. It's like you forget it. There are simply no intentions. You have no intention. Yes, you don't need it then.
What do we do now?
I'll tell you, I mean, they said it, right? I'm just passing it on to you. They said it for you. You can simply ask what the heart needs, and whatever comes up, that's it. That's what your soul needs as a whole, for example. And for example, once or twice, let's say, I tried to set some intentions that I think are the closest. You know, up to this point, which again are not, you know, between Net Maisonette's Manhattan and Rolls Royce, but something that's closer, so to speak. Nothing, everything disappears. And when, you know, I asked purely, you know, I mean, what will come from the heart? And you just, you know, sit and wait. Well, that's it. For example, a few things appeared that have nothing to do with what you thought about.
And as an experience, or more like a state?
Not like a path, like a road, literally like a road. For example, spiritual growth. And that's, you know, something I can do. You let go, it passes through the bottle if it's upwards, but you have to shoot it out. And for example, I let go of a few that are from the heart directly, and with this method which comes from, you know, the ancients in a way. You have to be very careful because everything you let go of has a price. And that price, we're talking about energies now, it's an energy cost. For example, you create a field, or, well, yes, exactly, a field. You create a field, and in that field, there's something that you want. But at the moment, it's not there, right? And in order to start, you have to move towards that field, or the field moves towards you. I'm not sure how it works, right? And that's it, yes. And we already want to remember this. Very useful. Yes, it has to come. Ruhr copy. And you can help this energy to strengthen it in me. And this happens with meditations and things like that. You know, here we're not talking about buying or selling something. Here we're talking about something personal for you. That is, as a soul that has already removed some programs from your avatar, you might have greater control.
Mali, we could talk until tomorrow morning. I'm really interested, Vensi. It's very, 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 very enriching. Personally, I learned a few things today. I don't know about the others, but I found it very interesting. They couldn't take their eyes off the screen or stop listening to the podcast. It was truly a great pleasure for me. Before we finish, I usually ask a few questions. I don't know if you know about that. The idea is to answer them in one sentence. Until now, you've been answering with many sentences, just like I ask with many sentences, but now the idea is to answer with one.
All right, I'll try.
Okay. Vensi, where do we come from?
From the source.
And where are we going? Toward the source. What is the meaning of life?
What is the meaning of life? Wait now. Maybe it should be a sentence. Whatever meaning we give it, that's the meaning.
Do we have free will?
We do. It's our greatest weapon, so to speak.
What does truth mean?
That's already.
Come on, give it.
At every level, the truth is different.
And what does a lie mean?
Anything that isn't true.
Hahaha, okay.
And it's different at every level, and it's different at every level. Yes, time is also true. You have a watch. Now to get to the store, it takes 5 minutes, but on the higher level, you know there is no time. But when you're here, it doesn't mean you should say there's no time. There is time.
Especially when it's about wages. And calculated, yes,
From
it has to be exact.
also there is, yes.
It matters what the secret of the heart is.
That it is one. That it is one, and that it is the direct path to the source. And maybe it's our biggest antenna, not the brain or the mind, but the heart.
And if you have the opportunity right now in one sentence to convey, you've already conveyed a lot, but to convey one true message that will reach so many people, what would you tell them right now? That was falling.
On the way here, I thought of this question, and I always get the same thought, which I think is very appropriate. This is a thought by Viktor Kalev. We are all born equally good. After that, life spoils us as much as it can. Ha 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 ha.
Thank you, Calmly. It was a pleasure, friends. A very, 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 very exciting meeting. And you share and comment. What was your favorite moment from this conversation? 1 second, Valence. No, the diplomas. No, you can't end things like that. Can I have a second?
Yes.
Share if you liked the episode. Comment with your favorite moment or realization. We really enjoyed it and the questions, because why shouldn't our guests come back again after some time? So leave your questions under this video as well, and remind yourself more often of the power of your choice, of your abilities, of the fact that what you might need the most is already hidden within you. If it's within you, or why not very close to you, in your heart bow, thank you, I am Stoyan Valkov, this is Reality Seekers. Simple, and I hit it. It's not that I just don't want to finish, I'm waiting for the clock to hit exactly 2 o'clock because it's 1:59. Very exciting, really. Thank you guys for watching and for your support. Here,
I whistled like this.
now it's time to hit the button and wrap it up. Based on what you watch every day, YouTube's algorithm calculates and suggests this video right here. It's different for everyone based on their choices, so watch the one that's most suitable for you right now.